Lights, camera, storage, action.
So thank you for speaking to Aravind Reseller. Nice having you with us today. We would like to start with a brief about the security threat landscape. What sort of trends have you seen in security threat?
Well, unfortunately, one of the trends that we're seeing that's a bit of alarming right now is the speed at which the attackers are moving. Yeah. So we've seen a dramatic reduction in dwell time, which is the time between the start of the attack and when the attacks are detected. Okay. And over the last 3 reports that we've written talking about the active adversaries inside your networks, we've seen it go down from 15 days to 11 days and down to 8 days for all attacks. But even more concerning is that of ransomware attackers has gone down to 5 days.
Okay.
And so that speed at which they're operating these days means that they're getting to their objective much quicker. They're able to exfiltrate data much quicker, and they're able to launch ransomware much quicker, which gives you less time to respond. So that to me is fairly concerning.
Okay. You mentioned ransomware attacks. What sort of challenges do IT teams face? Because there's the environments that they work is quite complex these days.
Yeah. So if you can imagine when these attackers are moving rather quickly and the window to respond is much shorter, it puts pressure on you to detect things a lot sooner, right? And so that's where I think a lot of the IT teams are struggling right now. They may have some of the tools that allow them to do some of this detection and then start to roll response. Yeah. However, I think a lot of teams just don't have either the necessary resources, meaning they just don't have enough people to be able to respond all the time. So 24/7 SOCs, those kinds of things. Big enterprise have a lot of these kinds of tools and resources at their fingertips, but most other businesses don't. And so not being able to see what's happening as well, right? So not having the right telemetry. So they might have some tools on, let's say, all their endpoints, but we're finding that sometimes servers are left out of the equation or other pieces of the network are left out of the equation, which allows the attackers to hide in those sort of deep, dark corners and cracks. And then the other side of that is understanding what you're seeing. So let's say you have all the telemetry coming in from all your various devices and services, but do you know what you're looking at? And do you know what suspicious looks like so that you can start to roll that response? So that's a second factor that I think is challenging IT teams. And then thirdly, it's that response itself. It's not knowing how to react to the specific instances of what they're seeing. So those 3 things together, having the tools and the visibility, knowing what you're looking at, and then finally knowing how to respond, I think are a big challenge for the teams that are combating cyber threats today.
Okay. In terms of buzzwords, we've seen AI as a major buzzword these days, and even at Gitex, the theme is around AI and everything.
Right.
So in that scenario, companies are looking at transitioning to AI solutions as well. How are you helping them with their journey towards this?
Right. So AI can be used defensively for a few different things. So you've got obviously the ability to detect things. So thinking executables, right? Malicious documents, those kinds of things. So we have models baked into our products that allow the products to really detect stuff that they've never seen before at scale as well. So the millions and millions of samples that we see every day, the AI is very competent and can handle those things very well. Then we can look at things that are happening on the network itself, right? Things that are happening on the endpoint. So command line parameters that are being input by the attackers. Let's say they're doing a who am I on the command line. Most users generally know who they are. They don't have to figure out who they are on the command line. And then other more complex command line inputs like PowerShell scripts and those kinds of things, right? As well as just network activity. And then finally, on the sort of response side, you've got the ability for AI to look at everything that's happening on the network, provide some correlation and context for all those things, and then guide the responders, the threat analysts, the threat hunters, guide them into that response with what it thinks are the steps that it can possibly take to remediate the problem. As well as, what typically these things together, what they mean, right? And so it's basically having a second threat analyst in your pocket that can give you some guidance and sort of look over your shoulder and give you some help in responding.
Okay. Sophos also, offers incident response retainer. Can
Right.
you tell us briefly about what it is and how can it help companies, look at threats as well?
Yeah, so the retainer is one of the industry first fixed cost retainers that allows teams. I've been talking about response a little bit, right? That allows teams to really get on that response quickly. So if you don't have the resources to be able to run your own response, if you don't have the plans in place to be able to do that effectively and quickly, that's where we step in. As soon as you detect something on your network, you can call us. We can step in right away. Start neutralizing the attack, and roll and running that response plan for you,
Okay.
so that you can get back to doing what you do best, which is running your business.
Thank you for speaking. It was nice having you with us today.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.